Maga's loyalty to Trump is waning. Members like Marjorie Taylor Greene are stabbing him in the back live on TV. They are trying to separate themselves from this impending destruction as much as they can. There is a great divide in their own ranks right now, and it is because Trump's loyalists cannot hold it any longer. People like Stephen Miller are getting live on TV and saying Trump has plenary authority. And once he realizes what he said, he completely goes blank. Let's take a look at that video.
Legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical...
Did the ashwagandha wear off Stephen Miller? This is the most caught and exposed face I have ever seen in my life. Let's look up what plenary authority means. Plenary. Unqualified, absolute. Well, Stephen Miller, you were right on the unqualified part. I find it odd how Stephen Miller and all the other Trump's lackeys seem to think he has unqualified plenary authority. But I also find it odd how this video was so bad that CNN edited it and put out a different version of what we saw on camera. Talk about a Freudian slip. They can't hide it anymore because they're fascists. You can only hide what you do in the dark for so long until it comes to light. We even have Kristi Noem at a hearing incorrectly using the term habeas corpus to say Donald Trump has unlimited authority, to where this intelligent senator corrects her. Let's take a look.
So Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to...
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas
right
corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the live free or die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though, that this president...
It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Thank goodness for Senator Hassan. I've taken note that these senators have been correcting them more and more right on the spot instead of letting these clips get out of hand for Maga to see and believe the lie. So congratulations and good job to her and everybody else. But this ship is crashing and burning so fast, Marjorie Taylor Greene went on like 3 different interviews and is still denouncing and separating herself from Trump. She even said out of her own mouth that Trump does not own her and that she has a mind of her own. And before we get to that video, we see right here that Trump has yet again broken the Constitution, because habeas corpus is the right of a prisoner or detainee to obtain a writ of habeas corpus as a protection against illegal imprisonment. And if policemen and FBI members have to let you know policemen or FBI open up, shouldn't ICE have to tell you and show you that they're an authority as well? They shouldn't be wearing masks and sunglasses as they shoot people on the streets and hit them with cars. Right after Marjorie Taylor Greene calls out Trump, we find out he's been making phone calls to ask what's happened to her. Trump, everything is going down, and she is well aware of this. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
I certainly support the president, but I'm not, what would be the right way to say it? I'm not some sort of blind slave to the president, and I don't think anyone should be. I serve in Congress. We are a separate branch of the government, and I'm not elected by the president. I'm not elected by anyone that works in the White House. I'm elected by my district. That's who I work for, and I got elected without the president's endorsement, and you know, I think that has served me really well. So I get to be independent as a Republican, and I think what helps him the most is when he has people that are willing to be honest with him and not just tell him what they think he wants to hear.
And that makes up the entirety of MAGA. And Donald Trump knows that. And I bet you right now, Donald Trump is looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene as if she's a traitor. But she said something very important in this video. She said she's independent. And then she had to quickly follow it up with she's Republican. You know, if the majority of Americans were independent, nobody would get stuck in a cult in the first place. And this is the most divided we've ever been. That aside, you know we're in trouble when Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only person in MAGA making any sense. In my past videos, I said these people only serve Trump because he has insane leverage on them and they lose their job and all their income the second they turn on him. Marjorie Taylor Greene has already made her money. And while those outlets might be very unethical, we see somebody truly try to become themselves again when Trump no longer owns them, or at least they feel like he has no leverage against them. It's actually embarrassing the lengths Pete Hegseth, the FBI director, Stephen Miller, and all of Trump's other lackeys go to constantly give Trump approval, validation, and credit anytime we see them all together in interview, because they know if they insult his ego too much, they're done for. They know they only got their job and will only maintain their job by being yes men. However, that makes you complicit in assisting in violations of the Constitution, so we'll see what happens to them after the midterms. The people that work for Trump now feel protected by him because his authority is now, and if anything, I bet you they're very desperate to keep him in power, because without him, this entire thing is over. Even Elon Musk said before Trump officially got elected, if Kamala ends up winning, I'm screwed and I'm probably going to prison. There's only one way out of this, and it's up. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene gets on TV yet again to make it known to the world Trump has been lying to all of you. But let's hear what she has to say about this.
Costs have not come down. I myself can tell you my apartment here in Washington, D.C., the electricity bill is $100 more than it was last year, because you can look at your own bill and look at costs. Prices have not come down. That is a reality. People's wages have not gone up. That's another reality. And so Americans are continuing to have a very difficult time.
Wow. How refreshing is it to have some honesty in this country? Albeit she's only doing it to save her own butt, this at least helps prove that the end of MAGA is coming, because America has no kings and America does not bow down to a fascist dictator. And what she said goes completely against Trump was saying about the economy. Let's take a look at what he had to say about it.
You know, I wouldn't say it's an even trade. While the other side is focused on playing games, the Trump administration is focused on creating jobs, bringing down prices, and we've really brought them down a lot. That's the other thing. We're bringing down prices a lot. We're bringing down grocery prices, but the big thing is energy. When you bring down energy, everything comes down. And the energy prices are way down. I see we're down to about $61 now a barrel. And what gasoline's going to be, I think gasoline's going to be below $2 at some point in the pretty near future. It's very low, much lower than it was under Sleepy Joe.
Apparently gas prices are going to be under $2 very soon, when the current average is $3.11. Trump also made a claim a few months ago that gas prices were already down $2. It's hard to keep up with the lie when you forget the first one you told, but hey, that's dementia for you. And if you think it ends there, no, it gets even better. This is in regards to Obamacare, otherwise known as the Affordable Care Act, which is why the government shut down, because Republicans want to defund it and not extend the tax credits to keep people's premiums the same, because without the extension of these tax credits for the Affordable Care Act / Obamacare, people will be spending about 3 times more on their premiums, and millions of Americans will be kicked off of their health care as a whole. There is over 24 million Americans currently in Obamacare. Let's get to these stats. 92% of Democrats, 82% of independents, 59% of Republicans say we should extend the Affordable Care Act to include 57% of MAGA supporters. That is insane. And 70% of non-MAGA supporters. It's like one MAGA person is waking up every single day. Now check this out. As a whole, if Obamacare is not kept in place, 39% of Americans would blame President Trump, 37% of Americans would blame Republicans in Congress, and only 22% of Americans would blame Democrats in Congress because they're not educated. But this percentage as a whole is huge. This is a combined 76% of voters. We weren't getting these kinds of numbers before because people were so obsessed with the cult of MAGA. But now that we have people actually correcting their lies right in front of their face, it's as if the social media algorithms to keep them in that MAGA loop is waning. Now bear in mind, when it comes to being uneducated about what's happening in this country, we see right here that it is MAGA who in fact is still in this social media algorithm, because 70% of MAGA would still blame Democrats, while 98% of Democrats know who is at fault. It is Trump and the Republicans. It's not even up for debate. And the MAGA that would blame Democrats still thinks illegal aliens are going to get healthcare. They're willing to lose their own healthcare just so this illegal alien who is not receiving healthcare because it is federally illegal cannot get treated or cannot receive the health care they're already not receiving. And also keep in mind that 81% of independents know who is at fault, which is Donald Trump and the Republicans. And even 40% of Republicans are saying, yeah, it's us. Moreover, this means that only 22% of America is severely uneducated. Everybody else seems to know who the problem is. And it gets even worse for Donald Trump and his constituents because MAGA and Republicans are calling Mike Johnson and saying to his face, you guys are ruining us. Let's take a look at a couple of these calls.
I want to start by saying, hearing you say that everyone is smiling in the cities where troops, our National Guard has been rolled into, feels dystopian and insane to hear you say that, watching the response to this.
This is actually insane. And I'm not talking about the caller, I'm talking about his choice in glasses. And here's another Republican calling Mike Johnson saying, you need to end this government shutdown because my daughter can die without her medical care. And my husband, who's in the military, is not going to get paid. Yes, active military members do not get paid during government shutdowns. Let's listen to her grill Mike Johnson yet again.
I have two medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get to get the medication that's needed for them to live their life. Because we live paycheck to paycheck. I heard you earlier say that you side with President Trump on anything that he says. Well, I just read an article this morning that said he absolutely wholeheartedly believes that there needs to be legislation put in so that we do not miss a paycheck. You have the power to do that. And as a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military's getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
This is coming to a crashing halt for MAGA. Donald Trump, your reign of terror is coming to an end. You have had time and time again to do right by your citizens, and you have refused to do the right thing every single time. Instead, you have chosen to act in self-interest to the point that 70% of America is calling you a fascist dictator because you fit the complete definition. We just reviewed it in my last video. And as a brief reminder, fascist is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology defined by a dictatorial leader, strict social and economic control, and the forcible suppression of the opposition. So how dare Donald Trump get on TV and say you shouldn't call anybody a fascist when he is the living definition? If you don't want to be a fascist, stop being a fascist. But if you wake up choosing every single day to be a fascist, you are a fascist. And Antifa stands for anti-fascist. It is not an organization, it is just people that Donald Trump cannot control. And ironically, as he tries to label Antifa as this imaginary terrorist organization that he said is global now, it's not even domestic, it's international is what he said yesterday. These same people he's villainizing for not wanting a fascist dictator are following the law more than he ever has in his entire life. They abide by the Constitution that he violates every single day. And he has the gall to say, hey, I know I act like this, I know I behave like this, I know I do this, I know I am this, but you can't call me that. Yes, we can. It's called the First Amendment. The same way Donald Trump called the military suckers and losers. But hey, don't you think it would be a better idea for the president of the United States to say, hey, we don't like fascism over here. Why don't you denounce it, Trump? We haven't heard you denounce it one time. Why is that? Because you are a fascist. It is just so ironic how the party of free speech, what Trump swore he campaigned on, and he says horrible, disgusting, grotesque things every single day about different communities and people he can't understand. The second you say something he doesn't like, he gets you fired off of your TV show. But speaking of Jimmy Kimmel, even he has taken note to Marjorie Taylor Greene turning against that entire party. And here's what he had to say about it.
The crazy thing is, for the last 2 years, Republicans were the ones screaming for these Epstein files. And one of them still is and doesn't care what the rest of the party has to say about it.
There is no amount of pressure they can put on me to force me to step in line on that, so to speak.
You know things in Washington are broken when Marjorie Taylor Greene is the lone voice of reason on the Republican side. I mean, what is going on? First healthcare and now this. Did she get a visit from 3 ghosts?
I've always been an unapologetic Trump supporter. I was one of the very few that stood with him after January 6th fought for him all over the country and helped him get reelected. Spent millions of dollars out of my own campaign to do that. And I've also supported many great Republicans getting elected as well. But I'm not a, let's see, what's the right way to say it? I'm not a slave.
No, that wasn't the right way to say it. That's the wrong way to say it. Man, next time maybe try doormat. I think it would work better.
All throughout the history of America, we have solved our disputes by meeting somewhere in the middle, and that's always been the end point of most conversations, is meeting in the middle. However, when it comes to Trump, he wants total domination, and as Stephen Miller said, he wants plenary authority over you. Total, absolute, and unqualified authority over you. You will meet Trump on his end, and that's it. That is why the government is shut down right now, because he has no interest in meeting in the middle, and neither does anybody that supports him, because everyone that supports Trump are easily controlled. They're not allowed to think for themselves. They're not allowed to want to meet anybody in the middle. They're only allowed to meet at Trump's wishes. And in Pete Hegseth's words, he serves at the pleasure of the president, not the country, not the Constitution, not the people of America, but at the president. Isn't that right, Pete Hegseth? Let us know if we're wrong.
My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day.
Very well, Pete Hegseth. Thank you for the confirmation. There are so many insane things happening. You would think half of them are hearsay if there wasn't video evidence for every single new thing that happens in this country. You could see a new headline tomorrow saying Trump brought back slavery, and your first instinct wouldn't be, no, he didn't. Your first instinct would be, we need to get him locked up. I can't believe it's our new normal. And not only can I not believe this is our new normal, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, yet again, breaks down the Epstein files and what is wrong with this current administration. Take it away, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Please.
Is the Jeffrey Epstein files, wanting to release those. I know Democrats have also been calling for that, a few other Republicans as well. The Democrats are accusing Speaker Johnson of delaying the swearing in of Arizona's Democratic Congresswoman-elect because she would give the last vote needed to release those Epstein files. I'm wondering, the Speaker, for his part, he has denied that. He said it's because of the shutdown. Have you spoken to him? Do you think she should be sworn in right away?
Well, I'll say it like this. I can't conclusively say if that's why the House is not in session, but the House should be in session. And the House should be in session for many reasons. We have appropriation bills that need to get passed. There is a new Democrat that's been elected that does deserve to be sworn in. Her district elected her. We have other bills that we need to be passing. And if it's to avoid the discharge petition, why drag this out? That is going to have 218 signatures. And so I say go ahead and do it and get it over with.
This is absolutely insane. Never did I see the day where Maga was going to come out and actually tell the truth on camera. This is what it means to not kiss up to a dictator and have an independent thought, even if she is acting out of her own self-interest because she sees this ship crashing and burning. It's on fire and she does not want to go down in flames with it. It is still refreshing to actually hear the truth and not more pretending, not a smile to hide the lie as they lie to millions of people every day on camera. We've never seen Maga this serious. They're always about to laugh at the lies they're telling everybody. There's no options left for them. What is Trump going to do? Illegally call upon the Insurrection Act that a superior court will do away with right away? It's a good thing Trump doesn't have plenary authority over the military generals, because I believe they will follow the Supreme Court's order, but we will see. Hopefully it doesn't get to that. However, Trump is desperate and he's already halfway there with the illegal deployment of the military in states where governors are not authorizing them to actually deploy the military. He even violated an order not to deploy the military in Portland, Oregon, and deployed them anyway. And the judge had to put out a second order saying, I just said you can't do this. I'm saying it again, you can't do this. They have to make up terrorist organizations to fight. They're not fighting for Americans' wages to be increased. They're not fighting for rent control. They're not fighting for lower health insurance. They're fighting for control, domination, and power. And even in another separate poll from Washington Post, it shows that 47% of Americans know Trump and Republicans in Congress are responsible for the government shutdown, while only 30% think Democrats are and 23% are unsure. No matter how we look at this, we have the advantage. And in an ironic twist of events, Donald Trump said he wanted to make America great again, but the only way for America to become great again is to get rid of Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump actually wanted to make this country great again, he would resign. And what's so funny about this stat right here is as soon as Marjorie Taylor Greene sees this, she gets on Mike Johnson about this. Let's take a look.
With Americans in that poll that see the shutdown as your party's fault?
You know what? I don't think the shutdown is popular for either side. And so I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party?
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you know, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. But what we have to do is we have to work for the American people. And our country is so divided right now.
Wow, you sound like Kamala Harris right there, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you pretended like you hated her. This is the first time I've seen anybody from that party say we have to serve the American people. However, we do see her still trying to play the middle by saying she doesn't blame Trump when Trump gave the order. So while she's still not to be fully trusted, just seeing her jump ship is enough for us to know, come midterms, our country will finally be where it should be. Why? Because they not like us. They are an oligarchy. They are fascists. They are wannabe dictators. They are unqualified. And in that clip where Marjorie Taylor Greene said she's not a slave to Trump and she's not a yes man and they need to stop lying to him, this is an embarrassing video, but a great example of Pete Hegseth doing just that. Watch this.
Mr. President, you're exactly right. At the War Department, you don't get peace without strength. And our job is to be the strength part of the equation and deliver that when necessary, as you demonstrated with your order of Midnight Hammer, and the entire world saw. And I just want to echo what Marco said. It is a personal honor to be able to witness the way you lead and negotiate. I wish people had a full understanding of what that looks like, that historic nature. A lot of us vets, you know, the Vice President, Tulsi, Lee, Doug, probably after decades of war and the chaos that was unleashed through reckless and foolish American policies, never thought this kind of peace would be possible. Yet, with your strength, with your ability to wield trade negotiations, personal relationships, to open up that opportunity is truly historic on the world stage.
What peace do we have, Pete Hegseth? Do you mean the pieces of the country we have left that we're trying to put back together? There's military deployed in our own cities by the president. Where's the peace? Maybe he means the peace of the millions of dollars they're getting paid to be a yes man to Trump. It's just so insane to see people like Joe Rogan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and many more start to make videos against Trump. Because in this video, Joe Rogan disagrees with Trump's immigration policies, saying that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that. That's crazy.
The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people have been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay. But also have a fucking heart, because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt. Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid. They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico, and they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish.
And ICE is arresting kids, by the way. We've seen videos and pictures left and right. It's actually insane. They're arresting kids walking home from school just because they look brown. If they hear them speak Spanish, they are putting handcuffs on kids. This is real. This is happening. They're all trying to separate themselves from him now, to include the Andrew guy that hangs out with Charlemagne the God. And finally, Trump gives a breakaway message for the government shutdown so he can help bring Americans together and give everybody exactly what they need. Take it away, Donald Trump.
Not yet, because it's early, but it gets a little bit worse as it goes along. And we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs. I hate to tell you. I guess that makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs. But we're going to start that. And we have Russell can talk to you about it if he wants to, but we'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly, because that's the way it works. They wanted to do this, so we'll give them a little
more division, more threats, not meeting in the middle, meeting completely on Trump's end, and punishing political opponents. What was the definition of that again? I think it was fascism. I mean, who chooses to live like this? What Biden did to this country should never be forgotten. Whenever I see stuff like this, I remember the Infrastructure Act and how Biden disproportionately invested in red states, and when asked why, he said because they need it the most. And he somehow convinced America Joe Biden was the bad guy. But maybe Trump is just jealous he'll never be the man that Joe Biden was. Trump hates it when anybody else other than him is getting attention. That's why he hates Obama. That's why he hates anybody of note that does not support him. I mean, for God's sakes, he came after Taylor Swift. Imagine the president of the United States beefing with the pop star. Oh wait, you don't have to imagine it, because he was. He said she's not hot. Before we end this video, let's give Trump one more chance. This was just posted on a news site today, and he had a very important message for the citizens of America.
Hello everyone, it's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
This is an absolute disgrace. That was not only a disgrace to America, that was a disgrace to humanity. Imagine not being able to pay your bills and then the president comes on TV trying to sell you a watch while he's worth $10 billion. What the hell is even that? And what is this? Some type of subliminal messaging? Trump watches? What does that even mean? Moreover, I hope you enjoyed this video today and Donald Trump released the Epstein files. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure to have a great day. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.